Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Tech Motoring. On today's episode we're going to be taking a look at this product here. This is the GKU D600 front and rear dash cam for your vehicle. So we're going to dive in today, we're going to do a quick open boxing of this product, take a look at everything you get with it, then we're going to get it installed on a vehicle and see how well it works. So make sure you stay tuned and hit that subscribe button because we're going to come right back at you. All right, everybody, welcome back. Well, Paul here with another product review, and this one is from GKU Dash Cams, or maybe it's pronounced GQ, not sure. So GKU Dash Cams reached out to me and asked me to review this product for them. So this is their D600 model, and so they wanted me to review this and take a look at it and see what it's all about. So this is a dual camera dash cam setup. So you do get a dash cam to look out your windshield, and then you have a second dash cam which you can decide if you want to have that pointing through your interior of your cabin, or if you want to, you can point it out your back window, so this way you get a rear camera view of what's behind you. Of course, in the event of an accident or something else that happens on the road, it's good to have as much view of your car around you as you possibly can. And so that's what's nice about having not only just a dash cam, but a dash cam that records front and rear, or in certain circumstances, people like to actually camera their cabin. You can actually just use this to record the cabin. But we're going to take a look at this product today, so let's go over a couple of the features and the specifications of this dash cam and see what we get with it. So just looking at the box, this says right on the front that it is 4K and Wi-Fi enabled. So the front dash cam is 4K, but I believe if you plug in the rear dash cam, it ramps down the front camera to 2.5K, and then the rear camera comes in at 1080p. So still perfectly fine. A 2.5K front camera is still really good. It'll give you a nice clear picture. Basically, my way of looking at it is as long as you can read a license plate from a little bit of a distance, the camera should be perfectly fine for what you need it. So if you decide just to hook up the front camera, you should get the full 4K. If you want both, 2.5 up front, 1080 in the back. Over here, it actually says that on the side of the box, dual 2.5K plus 1080p, which is the rear camera like again. Easy to share. Of course, you do get an app on your phone that you connect to the camera with over Wi-Fi. So you connect to the camera over Wi-Fi, download the pictures over that Wi-Fi signal, which is a little quicker than doing it through like Bluetooth connection. And that allows you to store the videos on your phone, so this way you could share them from that point in case you ever needed to save these videos for any type of insurance claim or a court case or something like that. You really want to make sure you have this saved, just not on the camera, but also in multiple other places. On this side, it says 4K front only. Of course, once again, depending on which way you set it up. Enhanced night vision, so this will have some sort of special night vision version of it where it'll kind of change the spectrum of the lens, so this way you could see a little bit better at night. And then of course it has a wide angle 170 degree, and I assume that's the front camera going out your windshield. 170 degrees, pretty good. So 180 degrees would be completely flat like this. 170 brings it in just a hair, so you should get a pretty wide view of what's out in front of you. So yeah, looks pretty good. The installation is going to look like it's going to be pretty straightforward as well. So let's open the box now, take a look at what we get in the box, and we'll kind of just do an overview of what you get and how this needs to be set up. Because if you're not familiar with how to run cables for your dash cams, then this will be a really cool tutorial as well of just the basics of how to do that. All right, so we open up the box and we are greeted with the user manual right there on top. Looks like a pretty thick manual. It's in a few different languages, which is why it's that thick. And yeah, so it goes over just the basics of, plugging in the SD card, how you should run your cable. There's a QR code for downloading the app. Very nice. All in color. Nice to see. I always like to see user manuals that are, put a little more effort into them, make them look good. People more likely use them at that point. We get a warranty card here, so a little warranty card, 12-month limited warranty, lifetime technical support, and latest firmware upgrade. So perhaps that is showing that this camera does support firmware upgrades to the physical hardware, so that would be kind of interesting to see. And here we have these, I read the manual, these are electrostatic stickers. I'm actually not 100% sure what those are for, but we're going to take a look at those in a little bit. We'll see if they come up at some point during the installation as well. Let's take a look on this side of the box here. We have a bunch of cables here, so this is where all the confusion starts, perhaps, for some people. And so let's just drag everything out of here. We have a couple of double-sided sticky pads here, and these are probably for mounting the camera to the windshield, so we'll take a look at that in just a moment here. We do have some, looks like wire runners, so you can put these 3M taped backed wire runner guides, if you will, and then you can put these areas and then run your wires through them. So yeah, we'll see if we need those. You got a little pry tool here to help you pry some interior pieces, interior trim pieces that you might need to get out of your way in order to run the cable. So it's always nice to see that in the box. We have a 12-volt pass-through for your camera. So this is how you power your camera. It looks like it has a USB-C end on it, which is good to see. And it also has a USB-A pass-through. So you plug this into your 12-volt socket of your vehicle, and then you do have a USB-A pass-through, which is nice, so you can still power something else with it. And then that powers the camera with the USB-C. And this over here is our rear camera. Let's open this up and take a quicker look. So this is our rear camera that runs to the back of your vehicle or wherever you want to run it. Looks like it is a nice two-piece cable setup. So you have your rear camera here with a short pigtail with a plug on it. You have your tape right there already mounted. And then you have your, I believe this is 19 and change feet of cable that you could run through your vehicle. It's just a, looks like a 2.5 millimeter cable on this side that plugs into the front camera, which we'll see in a moment. And you have your other side of the plug, so these two plugs go together. That's what gets you your rear camera connection. And I'm going to lay this out on the table a little bit, and we're going to discuss exactly what you're looking at when it comes to this setup when in the car. All right, so I guess that means the last thing we got to look at is the actual camera, the front camera. And here we have that right here. So pretty interesting shape, actually. It's kind of got this oval look to it from the side, and it looks like it has one of those adhesive pads already on it, so this way you could just peel off one side of it and then stick it to your windshield. And so it looks like they give you 2 extras, which is very nice, just in case you want to move this in your current vehicle, or if you want to move it to a different vehicle. If you get your windshield replaced, let's say, you want to make sure you have that double-sided tape pad to re-adhere that. So it looks like we have the lens up here in the front. On this side we have our USB-C port. Once again, the USB-C is for power. We have the 2.5 millimeter jack on this side as well, which is going to be for the rear camera connectivity. We have a micro SD card in here, which I'm going to pull out and tell you that it is a GKU Pro branded, interesting, 64 gig SD card. So yeah, interesting. So they have their own branded SD cards. Interesting. On this side we have a button, assumingly for taking snapshots or pictures, or maybe triggering a video event, like I want to save the last 30 seconds. Usually that's what they put those buttons on there for. So we'll take a look at that as well. And yeah, so that is the whole kit. That's everything you get. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to lay this out on the table. We're going to take a look at how this looks when you get it plugged into your vehicle. And then you'll kind of have a visual of what exactly you need to do to get this run. Because it's really not all that complicated, but sometimes a bunch of these wires can look a little overwhelming at first. So let's go ahead, let's get this set up on the table, make it look good, so you could take a look at how it should be set up in your vehicle. All right, so we have the camera now laid out on the table, how we're going to be physically connecting all the wires when we get it down into the vehicle. So we'll show you a close-up of that. In the meantime, I wanted to confirm some of the things that I was talking about before. So for instance, the electrostatic sheets here, these are actually designed to go on the windshield first, and then you stick the double-sided tape from the dash cam to this. So this way, I guess you're not sticking directly to your window or your windshield, which might make for an easier removal and installation in the future. I'm not really sure. So I did think that that was kind of interesting. So we'll have to try that and see that. I've only ever stuck them directly to a windshield, which obviously you can still do in this particular situation, but we'll have to see how that works. Other than that, the other thing I wanted to confirm was the button on the side of the camera. So that button does function as a capture button, and I'm just going to refer to the manual real quick for its functions because there's multiple. So it says press for 1 second to lock a video. So if you have something happen in front of you and you're like, oh, I want to save that, and you just hit the button, it locks that video to a specific part of the SD card that won't automatically be overwritten. So you can pull up your app sometime later. It'll probably have a section that says locked video or whatnot, and then you could probably choose that video, download it, and then you can delete it off the camera when you feel like it. But it won't be re-recorded over automatically. Now, if you hold down the button for 3 seconds, it will start or it may stop the recording session of your camera. So if you turn on your vehicle, the camera's going to automatically turn on because you're starting your day and you're going to get in your car, you can turn it on, you're going to start driving, your camera's going to turn on automatically. If for some reason you want to turn it off, you can hold the button down for 3 seconds, and then if you want to turn it back on again, you can hold it back down for 3 more seconds, it will turn back on. If you hold it down for 5 seconds, it says it resets the dash cam. I'm assuming it kind of resets it to default if I were to take a guess at that. Now, once again, we're laid out here on the table, so let's get you close and take a look at what we have here. All right, so once again, we got a close-up of how this is all going to get laid out, and it's pretty simple. On the camera itself, on this side, you have your USB-C port for power, so that is going to be going to the 12-volt adapter that you get, and then you also have your 2.5 millimeter for your rear camera. So that's going to start here. You're going to run that all the way to the back of your car using this long cable they have here. And that goes to this little junction here that plugs into the smaller pigtail of the rear camera. So eventually you're going to mount this to your back window. You're going to have this run through your car, and then they're going to connect somewhere within a couple feet of that back window. So make sure you run this in the proper direction. So this yellow has to make sure it goes to the back of the car and not the front of the car, because that would be really annoying if you did that backwards. So that's pretty much it as far as wiring goes. Once again, it doesn't seem like it's going to be all that difficult, and most of the time nowadays they make these pretty straightforward and seamless. And then one more thing before we jump down to the garage that I wanted to confirm is that this camera does state that it supports 24-hour recording if you choose to do so. What that means is that it can record video while it's parked in the event that your car gets, like, let's say it gets hit in the parking lot, or somebody maybe bumps into it and it will kind of shake the car a little bit. The camera will actually turn on, get triggered, and record. The functionality of that only exists if you have power to the camera, even while the car is off. So if your car has a 12-volt socket like this one here, then unless this 12-volt socket is basically on all the time, this camera will not record when your car is parked. Now, you can buy what they call a hardwired kit, which means that you can run a USB-C cable from your camera, and this end would actually go down to like your fuse panel in your interior somewhere, and then that would allow a seamless 12-volt connection from your vehicle to your camera. So in the event that you're in a parking lot and your car gets hit, your camera will actually start recording. So maybe somebody backs into your car, your camera will wake up, start recording, and maybe it captures the vehicle, the person, the license plate before they pull away from you. So that is a feature that is available on this camera, but you do need to buy the hardwired kit. You would have to reach out to them directly to get that, or you can probably find some third-party kits as well that would work the exact same way. You just got to make sure you power it using that USB. So now that we've kind of gone over all of that with this kit, let's jump down to the garage, get this set up in a vehicle, and we will see how it works. All right, everybody. Well, you join me now here in a vehicle. We're in a 2007, I believe, GMC Sierra pickup truck. So this is a pickup truck that we're going to be putting this in today. So we're going to be doing the front camera and the rear camera. And so here we have the GKU D600 Dash Cam. And so what I'm trying to do here is trying to find a decent spot to put this camera up on the windshield here. So we're just trying to look for a good spot for it. And then we're gonna go ahead and clean the windshield and get this mounted. Now, once again, we get these electrostatic pieces of plastic that they say you put this on the windshield first, and then when you peel the double-sided tape off the camera, you actually stick it to that. Now, once again, that's not something I've done in the past with any cameras. You don't have to necessarily, but I'm going to give it a shot and see how it works. And worst case, we can always just take that off and try it again. So we're going to make sure we're cleaning everything real good, get this mounted up there, and we're going to find a spot for it. Now, I'll turn you around just a little bit here so you can see what I'm looking at, which I'm debating whether or not, since the lens is on this side, I'm debating whether or not, do I want to stick it out way out over here on the passenger side, or do I want to try to sneak it over here on the driver's side? Now, I kind of don't like it over here because it does block the view slightly. I could put it lower on the window, but then we're getting a kind of in the way of your view. So I might keep it up high, way up here on the passenger side, and see how that looks right there. So I think that looks pretty good right about there, I think. So we're gonna go ahead and basically get the electrostatic piece there, and then we're gonna go ahead and run the wires to this. So we're gonna have to run 2 wires, one for the power, which we have right here, which is once again the 12 volt, they call it cigarette lighter outlet. It used to be called a cigarette lighter. Now it's just like a 12 volt DC output to the USB-C. So we're gonna have to find a way to run that around to make it look as nice as possible. Then we also have to run the rear camera. So we're gonna run that just to the back window over here. And we'll see what that does and what it entails. But I think it shouldn't be too bad. We're just gonna run it across this headliner, come across the top of this A-pillar here, run it back under the headliner over here and to the back window, where it's just gonna sneak out just ever so slightly on that rear window. All right, well, I think we have our marching orders, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so you join me in the back seat now, just looking at the rear dash camera here. And as we can see, we have this double-sided taped one when it rotates like this. And so what I'm thinking about doing here is, because we have these defrost strips on the back window, which is going to make this install a little weirder, because I don't want to put this on a defrost strip per se, because, you know, if you ever take this off, you don't want to damage the defrost strip. And unfortunately, there really is no easy way of doing it. So I think what I might do is somehow get this camera lined up perfectly inside of this gap here, and then have this tucked up here. So this way it's not taped to one of these strips. So we're going to be taping it up here, but this is a little bit better for holding on to stuff, I think, versus one of these really fragile heating strips here, or whatever you want to call it. So I think what we're going to do is something like that, and then run the cable up into the headliner. So let me go ahead and give that a shot real quick and see how that comes out. All right, that's a start. Got the wire tucked up. Coming over here, gonna connect the long piece of the wire to there. This truck did have a dash cam in it previously, and it wasn't really the greatest installation, but we'll see what we could do to try to clean it up as best as possible. So we're actually gonna run the cable down here and run it down through the plastic trim pieces of the interior. As you can see, they did that with the old cable. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run it in the same path as the old cable. You see they, used the proper wire runners here, even though they kind of gave up right here. We'll see what we could do about that. And yeah, so we're going to run it through, make it look nice, come up through this plastic piece here, and all the way up here to the windshield, where we'll ultimately be mounting the dash camera. All right, let's give this a shot. All right, so I actually just took the double-sided off the 3M tape, stuck it to the electrostatic plastic that they give you here, just ran the cables, plugged them into the side here, so we have the rear view camera, and then we also have the USB. It's already turned on, ready to go. It's telling me to format the SD card, which I'll do through the app. Well, you join me back now after a short break with our GKU D600 Dash Cam, both front and rear cameras. So we got these mounted in the car successfully, got the car put all back together. Everything looks great. We've downloaded the Jarvis Cam app, from, in my case, it is the Google Play Store. You can also download it for iOS as well. We're just gonna launch through this real quick, let it do its thing with all the permissions. It says add camera. Let's hit add camera, and we will see what we get here. So we are waiting. It should be connecting over a Wi-Fi signal to this camera. So it says install the camera and power it on. So it should be powered on. We have the 12-volt plugged in. We have the camera plugged in. It looks like we have the little blue light on it that says that it is powered on. It says select camera Wi-Fi and connect. So we'll connect to Wi-Fi, and we shall find the GKU D600 Dash random numbers. Enter the password. All right, so assuming the password is probably like 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go ahead and take a look. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Click connect. And we are going to connect to the camera now. Now it's obviously going to give you an issue with it not being an internet source, so don't worry about that. And yep, internet may not be available. Always connect anyway. And let's go ahead and go back to the application. And so now it should be connecting to the camera. And there we go. So it says D600. Boom. And there we go. We have out the front windshield a view from our camera, which is great. Unfortunately, it looks like I got a little bit of that black there on the side, but you know what? That's perfectly fine. I think that's pretty good. Unfortunately, I got a little bit of this black right here on the side, but I don't think that'll be too bad of an issue. It blocks just a little bit off to the left, but oh well, no big deal. We can always move it if we wanted to. And yep, so what we're gonna do here is please format the memory card through camera settings. So let's go to camera settings, format SD card. Let's go ahead and format, hit OK.
Formatting is completed.
It says formatting is completed. All right, so I think now we can go through some of the settings while we're here. So it says we have sound recording is turned on, so it's gonna record sound that's around it. Most of it will be in your cabin, but you can change your speaker volume here, your video resolution. So once again, 2.5K plus 1080 is what you'll get if you have, you know, both your rear camera and front camera active. So that is perfectly fine. Let's see, we got loop recording duration is 1 minute. That's fine. A lot of this stuff you're not going to really need to change. The time watermark, always good to keep that on because you want to make sure that you're watermarking your camera footage with time, so this way you know for sure when something happened and exactly what time. So really good. Rear camera flip left and right, so you can flip the video of the rear camera. We'll have to take a look at that in a second to see if we need to. And yeah, it looks like we have about 60 gigs of free capacity on that card. All right, very cool. So let's go ahead and we could flip the camera sideways like that. Really nice. Let's see. Let's go ahead and how do we flip cameras here? So let's flip cameras and see how the back camera looks. Awesome. That looks really good. So yeah, so once again, really cool. Really clear videos, and I'm going to put a lot more B-roll footage up of this as we're talking about it. So let's go ahead. I want to take the car for a ride, get some footage out on the road, and see how well this works. So yeah, the app was pretty simple to set up, really no issues there. And yeah, so if you ever wanted to download stuff from your camera, you can just let's see, access camera. Let's go back into the camera. We could go to camera file here in the bottom left, and there we have our camera files right there, front and rear, that you can see for this camera. Perfect.
Start recording.
You can hear it goes back and forth between start recording, stop recording, and that's because we're going in and out of menus. When you're connected to it through the application, it will turn on and off recording based on that. All right, everything looks pretty cool. Let's get out on the road, get some footage, and see how clear everything looks. All right, everybody, welcome back to the studio. Well, we're going to go over my final thoughts of the GKU D600 Dash Cam for your vehicle. So we did get that installed in the GMC Sierra pickup truck, as you saw. Got the back camera mounted on the back window, the front camera mounted out the windshield. And so now we're just going to kind of go over what my thoughts of the camera, the quality of the video, and what you're going to expect from this. Now, During this process of me talking, I'm just going to overlay a bunch of video that you can see, both daytime video from the front and rear cameras, and also nighttime video from the front and rear cameras as well, and kind of point out a couple things that I've noticed. Now, a couple things I want to go over with the installation is, as you can see from the video, it's a pretty straightforward installation. Basically just have to run a couple of wires where you need them to go, and of course you could take your time, do it correctly, take off some interior panels to get the wires run properly. I seem to have had plenty of wire in that particular vehicle where I was able to get from the front to the back for the rear camera without having to worry about the length of the cable. That seemed to be perfectly fine. And depending on your vehicle will depend on you know, how much wire you're actually going to need to run that rear camera. Sometimes you do need to buy like a 2.5 millimeter extension cable depending on the length. But in this particular case, we had plenty of wire to run you know, from the back window across and down, and then across the bottom, and then back up, and then, you know, to the front. So quite a long run, even in a pretty small vehicle. But it did come out pretty good. Now, a couple things I will say during the installation was that electrostatic sticker, basically, that they recommend you put on the windshield first, and then put the double-sided 3M tape from the dash cam onto the windshield. Now, I wasn't too crazy about this. I figured I would give it a shot. You'll see it in the daytime footage a little bit, where you'll see bits of the little electrostatic film there, and that's because, you know, it might have got a little dirty behind it. It's hard to get it exactly on the windshield. You got to make sure you clean the windshield first, and then you got to put that sticker on there, and then you stick the camera to it. And so you might see a little bit of that through the camera lens, and so that's one of the reasons why I don't like putting something like that in front of the camera. Just because of the way of where we put the camera, we couldn't aim the lens underneath of it per se. We would have to do something special. And in the nighttime footage, you might actually be able to catch it, but I actually cut the electrostatic film in half horizontally, and so this way it wasn't blocking the camera view 100% out the front window. And I figure at that point, if you're going to go through all that trouble of, you know, cutting it and everything to trim it back and stuff, you know, you might as well just not even bother with it. Just put the camera on the windshield, and then it's not so hard to get that sticky tape off of windshield anyway. So I always recommend maybe doing it that way, but I'll leave the decision up to you. If you have the space to put that electrostatic cling sticker on there, go for it. If you don't, I don't think there's any harm in putting it directly onto your windshield. Of course, if you're concerned about sticking it directly to, like, if you have a tinted windshield, like if you have like a ceramic tint on your windshield, there could be some concerns if you ever were to take off the double-sided tape from the windshield. It could potentially pull the tint off depending on how you do it. But if you're really careful about it, you really wouldn't have an issue pulling that off of the tint either. But that choice is up to you, whether or not you would rather do that or just stick it to your windshield. As far as the video quality goes, you can see that during the daytime footage, the quality is actually pretty good. And once again, just to reiterate, it's a 2.5K out the front and 1080p out the back. If you don't use the back camera, you will get a full 4K out of the front. And so the 2.5K looks pretty good. And what I'll do is I'll take a little snippet right here, and I'm going to put on the screen where we drove by like a U-Haul truck. And you can see the license plate, and I'll zoom in right here where you can pretty clearly make out the license plate. Of course, we're pretty close to this car. It's not like we're 3 or 4 or 5 car lengths away from this truck. We're pretty much right next to it, or in pretty much about 1 car length from it when we took this picture from the footage. And so you can see that if you are more than maybe a couple car lengths out, license plates, depending on, you know, obviously the type of license plate, the time of the day, the color of the plate, the contrast of the letters over the colors, seeing a license plate in this 2.5K will probably be okay. But once again, it's all going to depend on a lot of variables there. But as you can see, it's not too bad as far as that goes. But other than that, you can very clearly see out the front window, other than that cling thing there that gets a little bit blurry in certain areas of the film. And yes, I did unfortunately catch some of that black tint on the center of the windshield. I later on did move the camera over just a little bit, so in the nighttime footage, there's a little bit less of that black stuff there on the windshield, so you can actually see the difference a little bit there. So once again, this is something that you can hook up the camera, pull out your phone, set up your phone app first before you mount the camera, just so you have the ability to see what you're looking at before you go sticking it to your windshield. I thought I was going to have enough space there, but once again, with that 170-degree angle of the camera, it does capture quite a bit of what's around the front of the camera, along with what's directly in front of the camera. So just keep that in mind, that you may have to move that camera lens just slightly out of the way of anything else that might be in your windshield there. But I was able to move it over a little bit. Once again, utilizing that electrostatic cling, I just basically pulled that off and then restuck it to the windshield about an inch over or so. So now the view going out the front is a little bit better and not as blocked as it was initially. Now, if we look at some of the nighttime footage, it's pretty much what you would expect. The nighttime footage actually comes in pretty clear. I don't think you're going to be really reading license plates with the nighttime camera. I don't think you're going to be reading license plates using the rear camera at all. I don't really have any good examples of that because we don't have front license plates here in South Carolina. We only have rear license plates, so it's hard to see a car behind me that would like follow, let's say. But overall, I think you get the gist of it. If there was an accident in front of you or behind you, or if somebody were to hit you or rear end you or something like that, you do have almost a 360-degree coverage of video around your vehicle. So at least you know you can pretty much see everything that goes on around you. So that's a pretty cool thing as well. So overall, I gotta say that the GKU D600 is a pretty decent dash cam for the price. If you're interested in this product, you could go down in the description below. You'll see a link there where you can click on that and it'll bring you to the product to see if this is the right camera for you. They do offer some other kind of higher end cameras, some with even like a little screen so you can actually see your footage on the actual screen as opposed to having to utilize your phone to look at the video. But, you know, obviously there'll be some additional costs to that, but you could take a look at the GKU lineup over at their website. Once again, I'll throw a link down there to their website as well. But anyway, I'd like to thank GKU Dashcams for sending me out this for review. I really did enjoy the product. It's pretty straightforward. I've done plenty of dashcam installs in the past, and this was no different from any of those. It's pretty straightforward, easy to use. The app was very easy to set up, and I really didn't have any issues during the entire process. But anyway, I'd like to thank you all very much for watching this episode. I hope it helped you out in your decision if you're looking at the GKU D600 Dash Cam. Once again, link is down in the description below. Thanks again for watching another episode of Tech Motoring, and we will see you on the next one. And remember, welcome to the future, and welcome to Tech Motoring. We'll see you soon.